Welcome. In this video, Chapter 6 of Arknights will be summarized. Throughout the video, there will be spoilers for the story of Arknights. If you don't want to be spoiled, please go and play the game. The chapter starts off with a journal article that discusses the analysis and results of a collection of weathered remains. It's revealed that there is a common origin for infected quarantines and executions with the law. That is to say, infected suffering predates the concept of law itself. Flash forward, the Doctor and Frostnova are talking to each other. Frostnova says they must fight as defeating her will mean others can't survive. Frostnova is willing to join Rhodes and fight the enemies of the infected their way, as it is her burden to bear. Back again to the present time, 8:50 AM, 4 hours after recapturing the LGD HQ, the Lungmen Search and Destroy campaign enters its final phase. The steps to this phase are 1. Control Reunion's movements within Lungmen. 2. Mop up Reunion's forces still in Lungmen. 3. Eliminate Reunion's op commander or influence. And 4. Eliminate Reunion before they can withdraw to the slums. A loudspeaker drone calls out to all citizens in the district to participate in the evacuation exercise, and for those who fail to leave, to not leave their homes, and is then shot down by a Reunion member. Mephisto, who was nearby, is unhappy that Lungmen is trying to cover up their destruction, and tells his soldiers to keep to the side streets. 2 Reunion members report that they keep losing contact with their Overwatch teams one by one, which causes Mephisto to start cursing at Lungmen. A crossbowman under Faust's command asks Faust if they have a chance to retreat, which they should if it's just basic LGD and RI members. The crossbow asks what he means, with Faust explaining that someone is watching them. 9:20 AM, at RI's patrol route near the LGD. Blaze comments about how RI got a bad deal for leaving something to an infected, and getting infected to fight other infected. Down below, Reunion members are trying to escape and clear a path. Blaze spots them and lands close to them, causing confusion to break out. Blaze radios the LGD, telling them to hold their fire as she doesn't want to get caught up in it. Blaze introduces herself to the Reunion members, saying she's there to cripple their combat abilities, and offers a chance to put down their weapons and surrender peacefully. If they do, they'll be escorted to Rhodes, who will put them somewhere that welcomes infected. A soldier attacks, but Blaze blocks it with her bare hands. Since they attacked her, they're not going to surrender. Blaze starts heating the area using her arts and gets ready to fight. After the battle, a Reunion member calls Blaze a traitor and a disgrace to the infected as she sided with Lungmen. Blaze is impressed they can take 2 punches and cracking their skull, saying they figured her out wrong, and starts heating the air within their body. After enough pleading, Blaze decides to be merciful and calls over an officer to take care of him. The Doctor, Amiya, and an RI op come running over, with the Doctor complimenting Blaze on her fighting. Blaze is happy to see Amiya, scooping her off her feet and hugging her. To escape, Amiya controls Blaze's emotions, which Blaze dislikes. Blaze recognizes the op as Greythroat, who she threatens to kill if she talks down to an infected again. Amiya scolds Blaze, who excuses her behavior, saying she needed a warning. Amiya begins to apologize to Greythroat for Blaze's actions, but Grey admits that she did say those things, and she may have not really changed from the person she was. Regardless, Grey's here to do something, regardless of what Blaze says. Amiya asks where Gaviel is, with the Doctor saying she's probably went to attack some enemies. Amiya doesn't want her to do that, and asks the Doctor to signal her. The Doctor asks about the other teams, to which Amiya explains that the elite ops are acting as squad leads and they'll report in soon enough. RA stands at a crucial point in the joint op, and it's a decisive battle for Lungmen. Chen will be deploying the best the LGD has against Reunion in service of the joint op. RI will have to keep moving on their patrol route, and when they reach the target, they can deliver a decisive blow against Reunion. But there's something only the Doctor can do. Amiya calls Blaze back to look after the Doctor until they meet up again, and asks the Doctor to look after Blaze's psychology as it has an impact on her performance, and potential encounters with other infected can influence her emotions. Elsewhere, Chen and Swire talk with each other. Chen asks how Swire returned, with Swire saying that she has her own motor pool. Chen doesn't like that Swire went behind her back to save Rhodes, with Swire teasing her about it. A group of Reunion soldiers draw near. Swire commands the LGD Defender Squad to put their shields up, crossbows to load, and then to fire when the Reunion soldiers charge them. Elsewhere once again, Wei Yan Wu is in contact with someone on the radio. Whoever he's talking to has a job to do, and someone named Lin Kojui is opposed. Wei has heard all the opinions of the stakeholders, and he must do what must be done. Koiji's daughter will reach out to the person Wei is talking to, and in the following 3 weeks, they can't contact Wei. They must contact Lin's daughter. The other person says that Wei and him are like brothers, and say that he's decided to name his daughter Tallulah, and for Wei to not take it to heart. Another flashback, because this chapter needs more of them, as Rose Montes is shown trying to fix a terminal which holds 6 years worth of her recorded memories. She remembers her father and mother and begins sobbing. The person talking to his Rose Montes begins to panic and offers to take it to closure or wait for Scout to come fix it. Scout makes himself known after overhearing Rose Montes describe him as a porcelain doll and how weak her estimation was. The person talking to his Rose Montes is Blaze and didn't notice Scout at all, and then asks Scout to take a look at Rose Montes' terminal. He declines as he's about to go on a mission to save the doctor, and suggests seeing Closure or Mechanist. Ace confirms they're going to save the doctor as it may be their last chance, as Chernobog is going deep into Ursa's territory to avoid the catastrophe. Blaze is curious as to if the doctor is worth all the effort, which H says they're worth as much as Amiya and Callicet. Blaze mentions to Ace that Greythroat is on his team, with Ace defending her, saying she's a good soldier and may have good intentions. Ace and Scout leave for the mission with the promise of getting drinks later. Blaze goes to the Mechanist to repair Rose Montes' terminal. Back in the present time, Blaze is mouthing off about Greythroat and the doctor. Blaze asks if Amiya sent the doctor and then goes off about how Amiya always acts like an adult, which he has to, as the leader of Rhodes. She then points out LGD and Reunion fighting and asks the doctor for the fastest route to help the LGD. Blaze defeats the Reunion members and radios in to tell someone to capture them, else hand them over to Lungman. The LGD officers don't trust Blaze, despite her saving them as she's infected. Irked by this, Blaze scoops up the doctor and moves on to the next area. She suggests going to Wang San Plaza, as Reunion would most likely break through there. By slowly whittling away at Reunion, RI and the LGD can take down Reunion in one swift stroke. So if they chase Reunion out of Wang San Tower, herd them into a pincer, then meet up with Amiya, they can crush Reunion. Blaze spots something in the distance, several of Mephisto's herd killing their own. Back with Chen and Swire, Chen is getting vitals but no reports or any signs of distress signals. Swire guesses that Chen lost contact with a spy and may have turned over to Reunion because he's infected. Chen says it's impossible, as if she's turned traitor, there's no one left she could trust. Back with Mephisto and Faust, Faust asks what Mephisto has just released as his team is riled up and in pain. Mephisto says the seeds he's planted have finally bloomed, basically meaning he's catalyzing their infection. Faust asks him to stop, but Mephisto ignores him, as only he can use such arts, and only he can kill so many of their enemies. Faust tells him to keep quiet as morale is already low, and that Frost Nova will help them. Mephisto scoffs as he believes that she and her Yetis betrayed Reunion. Faust defends Frost Nova, with Mephisto continuing on about how he can crush all of his enemies with the herd he has created. His herd goes berserk and attacks fellow Reunion members. Unable to stand the sight of it, Faust runs off. Faust saves some Reunion members before they're attacked by the herd. Over to Amiya and Greythroat, Amiya tells Greythroat to take care of any infected with arts abilities. Grey asks if she's allowed to shoot them dead, which she is, but Amiya wishes there was a way to do it without hurting anyone. Suddenly, some of Mephisto's berserk herd appears. At separate places, Rhodes fight the horde. Grey manages to catch Faust by surprise, then he disappears. She recognizes him as one of Reunion's leaders, which Faust responds to by shooting at her multiple times. She dodges each shot. He manages to get behind her, and the two have a conversation about leadership and making decisions, and then he disappears again. The two keep talking, with Faust saying he'll kill Grey next time, and Grey still wanting to work together. The LGD continue to fight Mephisto's horde, with Blaze electing to ignore them, as her top priority is to keep the doctor safe. A man wearing formal Yan attire appears and tells the LGD officers to form two teams and move on their flanks, execute a pincer attack, hold them in their place, and leave the stragglers to the reinforcements. The Horde counterattacks, causing the fort, wearing formal attire who just arrived, to have the officers take a defensive formation. The officers begin to get overrun, dodging the Originum being flung at them, and being eaten alive. A woman wearing formal Yan attire unleashes her lightning arts and destroys the Horde. The LGD officers recognize the woman as Censor, who asks them if they know who the people wearing black cloaks are, which none of the LGD members do. Over in the slums of Lungmen, Swire and Chen fight Reunion. Chen has trouble with the radio, Swire makes fun of her for being useless, then saves Chen from a drone above her. Swire calls out to the recon team to hold back, and then for the fire team to fire their explosive bolts. An LGD officer runs up to Chen and reports that people wearing black raincoats have been fighting Reunion. Chen dismisses it as an urban legend. Back to Gray, she witnesses a mysterious man don a black raincoat and take down multiple Reunion members. Two Reunion members talk with each other, first about how Mephisto's horde is attacking everyone, and then talking about how Chernobog was easy but Lungmen isn't, then why one of them joined Reunion, infected identity politics, and so on. Nothing really too majorly part of the story. Amiya and some RI ops stand in front of one of Mephisto's hordes. Amiya can feel a faint sense of hatred coming from them that comes from Mephisto himself. Amiya promises to cleanse Mephisto's hate, the poison that it is. Back with Chen, she and her squad just finished mopping up the Reunion stragglers. An LGD officer reports that no Reunion member has been found in the area they swept through. Chen says they cut off Reunion, there is a deafening sound coming from where they were, and then half the residents vanished. There's no one around. Chen plans to go up north, then whispers to the LGD officer to follow her quietly. Chen and the officer are stopped by a man in a black raincoat. Chen tells the officer to find Swire, and they run off. Chen tells the mysterious man to explain himself and what happened to the residents, or he'll make an enemy of the entire LGD. The man brushes her off, saying to not investigate what occurred, and that he answers to Wei. Swire comes running in, causing the mysterious man to run off. Swire asks what happened, with Chen saying that she should know, or at least her grandfather should. Lin Gray. He runs the slums like his own personal fief, and there's no way he'd let so many disappear. Swire asks if she should call, or Chen. Crownslayer is asking a Reunion member what's happening over the radio before they're killed. One by one, those around Crownslayer begin to die. She remembers back to Tallulah telling her to kill Calicut, then Frostnova talking about Crown's rival. Someone in red attire then approaches Crownslayer. Elsewhere, Swire tells a guard to call someone she calls a pink-haired skewer scum. The person she calls picks up and Swire starts accusing her, Lin Yusia. The woman on the other end of the call admits that it was her and Special Forces. By using the Special Forces, they can eradicate the threat easily. She then tells Swire that the Chambers of Commerce fear the infected and their growing numbers. Whether they're Reunion or not, they want them dead, then hangs up. Back to Mephisto, he is informed that his herd is shrinking, mostly by people in black raincoats. Faust reforms his squad to hold back the LGD. Mephisto asks if he's hurt and why he left. Mephisto thanks Faust for bringing back some of his people. Faust tells him to not use those arts again, and then takes Mephisto prisoner. Yet another flashback occurs, this time with Ino, Mephisto, and Sasha, Faust. The two are reading about ideals before realizing that it's time to go home. Ino doesn't want to go because he'll get beaten by his father. Sasha has bruises and wounds from the fights he's been in. Ino has been giving bread to Sasha and taught him to read. Ino says that he doesn't belong in that home. His mother isn't home and the way people look at him terrifies him. Sasha cheers him up, saying that he should keep laughing. Ino returns to the home regardless and then comes back to Sasha with a wound on his stomach. Sasha told him he could laugh, so he kept laughing. Ino keeps returning with more and more scars. Sasha's words influence Ino. Ino went and destroyed everything that hurt him. Sasha is worried about Ino's wounds. With one breath, everything is better. He can heal himself. Thanks to original rock that fat woman shoved down his throat, he has the power to heal. But he can no longer sing. Ino and the infected kids killed Ino's family, burning the house to the ground. Sasha swallows the originum he stole from a local mine so they both can be infected. Ino becomes Mephisto under the grace of Tallulah. Tallulah didn't say much to Faust, but she trusted him, unlike Mephisto. Yelena, Buldrokkas'tee, Ludmilla believed in Faust as well. Tallulah says that Mephisto may do as he please, as he can do anything and should trust her. Faust enters and immediately recognizes that Tallulah is truly not herself. Tallulah tells Faust to help Mephisto as he gives him value. Faust tells Mephisto that Tallulah is not the same person, which he agrees, and asks Faust what to do. Back to the present, Amiya tells all elite RI Ops to take Objective 1 as their primary mission, and this may be their first, last, and only large-scale battle. Blaze hears this and calls Amiya a worrywart, with Amiya threatening Blaze with her unsubmitted disciplinary reports. Blaze reluctantly heads over to the ambush point. Blaze and the Doctor reach the highest point in the district, with Blaze saying they should hop down as Mephisto's team is to the east, Faust is near there, and the massive horde. Blaze calls into Amiya, saying that she's taking the Doctor into the fight. Back with Chen and Swire, Chen is letting a small reunion group go so they can track them down into the slums. Swire is concerned about the special forces, but Chen says there's no reason to not take the opportunity. Amiya tells Chen they're in position, as well as informing Chen that Misha is dead. Chen acknowledges it and continues on, telling everyone to prepare for battle. Faust and his team get ambushed, with Faust saying he'll encourage the Horde to go fight the LGD, while getting the rest to take him. The him in question is Mephisto, who asks what Faust is doing. Faust says that Mephisto would do anything he asked him and asks his last wish. Greythroat comes in, and the Phantom Crossbowmen unleash a hail of arrows. Faust tells his crossbowmen that Frostnova is on her way, and once she arrives, they're under her commands. Faust renders his crossbowmen and Mephisto invisible with his arts, potentially rupturing his organs. He leaves, knocking a crossbow bolt, and aims for the last time. A reunion member says that Mephisto has stopped crying, his eyes looking brain dead. They miss Faust as he was a good commander, and wonders what to do next. Greythroat herself looks over Faust, reminiscing, wondering why Rhodes fights if they can't save any infected. In the distance, explosive bolts are fired into the air like a 3-volley salute. Blaze says that Faust was apparently a strong kid, with Amiya theorizing that maybe he had no reason to fight anymore. Greythroat goes to pick up Faust's crossbow and leaves without saying a word. While wandering off, she gets stopped by a black raincoat, asking if Faust was her friend. She doesn't know herself, and the figure says they were worried that they may have been making friends with the infected. Back to Amiya, Gavial reports that Yeti Squad is forming up in the slums. Very briefly summarizing Part 6-8, Blaze, the Doctor, Amiya, Frostleaf, Meteorite, and Jessica fight Frostnova and Yeti Squad in the broken-off piece of Chernobog. Blaze tells Frostnova to stop using arts because she's slowly killing herself. Frostnova stops the group from escaping due to the original crystals that were planted beneath the plate they're on, causing it to split. Amiya and Yeti Squad call a temporary ceasefire because Frostnova fell between the cracks. They also mentioned that if Patriot hadn't called for unity, Mephisto would be dead by now. Back in the present, Chen tells her squads to move out and then gets a call warning her that Yeti Squad is present and they have the ability to destroy infrastructure. Someone named Nine says that she doesn't belong in Lungmen anymore and plans on leaving the city, abruptly hanging up on Chen after telling her not to look for her. Chen returns, with Chen telling Swire, who was waiting for her, that Yeti Squad has entered the slums, suggesting they steer the raincoats into them, at least with Lin Yasia's help. The two go to wrap up this last job and to get Lin aboard to help them. Swire meets up with Lin Yusia and asks for help, with a steady back and forth about whether or not Lin Sr. will help. Swire says that Lin Sr. and Chen will rebuild the slums together to the point where it won't be a slum anymore. Yusia asks where the reunion unit is. Yeti Squad and some reunion members have finished fighting a black raincoat, comparing their strength to, quote, the swordsmen and gas masks back in Ursus, if not stronger. Some of the Phantom Crossbowmen report in, bringing Mephisto with them, who has taken some hits to the psyche. Frostnova commends Faust for being a brave warrior. The Phantom Crossbowmen would like to fight alongside the Yetis, with Frostnova accepting their offer and telling them to find a sniping position and wait. Reunion members talk amongst themselves about the Black Raincoats and how they see civilians as targets, like Ursa's soldiers. The Yeti squad finds some locals who are scared of them, but thankfully Frostnova is able to comfort the crying child and ask for some members to escort them to safety. Throughout the conversation, Frostnova coughs violently, with some Yeti squad members being concerned for her well-being as it directly affects her health. Ignoring their pleas, Frostnova lowers the temperature beyond the lower limit, allowing them to collapse a structure on the Black Raincoats. Two members named Young and Petrova notice that Frostnova doesn't have much time left. Elsewhere, Greythroat finds a lone infected child and speaks to them, promising to help find the lost child's father. As they're leaving, a Reunion member appears who reveals they were using the child as bait for an ambush, and attacks after an unsuccessful negotiation with Grey. Before she's killed, Blaze comes in to save the day, and apologizes for misjudging her, but says she still needs to work on her people skills, and if she screws up, it goes to the legal department. The Doctor and Amiya are observing them, and believes they're starting to get along a little better. Elsewhere, a Lupo in red catches Crown Slayer by surprise and pins her down. A voice tells the Lupo, named Project Red, to not kill her. Red knows her scent as not a wolf, but a true wolf, the first true wolf. Red offers to sever her spine, but the voice, Calicut, says there's no need for that. Crown Slayer says she finally found the traitor, with Cal recognizing Crown Slayer as Ilya's daughter, Ludmilla. Crown Slayer says Cal sold out her father with Sergei, destroyed the lab where he worked, and killed the scientists. Cal asks if Sergei gave a heartfelt confession before Crown Slayer killed him, as he was Alex, Skull Shatterer, and Misha's father. Reunion took in Alex, killed his father, and hunted down his sister. Cal tells Red to let her go, and offers Crown a chance to kill her. Crown says she'll kill Cal, and a thick mist covers the alley from her arts. It's smoke, coming from a smoke-emitting organ in the oral cavity. Crown asks why Cal betrayed her father, with Cal responding that she only barely made it out herself. Cal talks about Ilya giving Crown the book, Truth and Justice, and how it was Ilya's plan to seal the sarcophagus so that Ursus would be unable to use the machines in battle. Cal continues to say that when Crown chooses violence, she'll one day be doomed to meet someone stronger. Crown rejects what Cal said, with Cal summoning Monster, which surprises Crown. Cal tells Monster to annihilate the falling object above her. Monster isn't happy about it, but does it anyway. Cal asks Crown if she wants to die, or if by killing Cal, will she be happy. Cal nor Sergei didn't betray people. Ursus authorities had his newborn son and daughter, and he gave Crown's father's location to save them. Now, Alex and Misha are dead. Cal couldn't save Ilya because he wouldn't leave the Institute. She sent Crown off to Syracusa before Cal left Chernobog, but Crown still returned. The researchers died to protect their secret, as Ursus still has no way to analyze the contents of the sarcophagus. If Cal betrayed anyone, it was the Ursus Empire. Cal returns Monster after Red recommends it, and tells Crown that her leader is insane and has no heart. As the smoke clears, Crown is nowhere to be seen. Cal and Red discuss whether they should have killed Crown or not before leaving, as they notice the temperature dropping. Yeti squad members watch over a long stream of refugees that go out of the city, waxing poetically as they watch. Blaze and an RI-op watch them, with Blaze then running off towards the Yeti members. A Yeti member asks a Phantom Crossbowman to take Frostnova with them back to Chernobog, even though they don't want to go, as they want Frostnova to be with Patriot in the end. The Crossbowmen agree and notice how light she is, as her arts have drained her body. The Yetis prepare to fight. Elsewhere, Chen and Amiya watch the Yeti members, when the Black Raincoats appear and watch them. There's a lot of watching going on. Chen is ready to fight, but Amiya is hesitant. It's just like the ruins of Chernobog, making Amiya not want to watch, but she changes her mind after the Doctor convinces her. The Yetis regroup and let loose their Frost Originum, making a final stand against the LGD and Rhodes. Another flashback to fighting Frostnova in the Chernobog ruins. The Doctor finds Frostnova, and they began talking about Frostnova's adoptive father, Buldrokkas'tee, where she was born, and her true parents, how the Governor of the Mind was a cruel man, how she discovered her arts during her execution, and how Buldrokkas'tee saved her. Frostnova asks the doctor to take a candy and put it in her mouth, without touching her skin, with the doctor trying one for themselves. It's extremely spicy. If the doctor did ever touch Frostnova, they'd get severe frostbite. Frostnova continues on about her oropathy and arts, how she's so very cold, and mentions that her adoptive father is also known as Patriot. Back to the present, the Yetis are buried beneath Lungmen. Two Yan emissaries talk about Wei and how the Black Cloaks compare to the Imperial Guard before being attacked by Blaze, whose attack is blocked by some wires. Before they can do anything to Blaze, Chin says they have no authority to investigate Blaze and release Blaze before offhandedly mentioning something about her father, then leaves. Amiya catches up, with Chen reporting to her that there is no trace of any enemy commander. Elsewhere, the Doctor and Cal meet face to face. The captain of the Yetis didn't participate in this battle, but the Doctor will, regardless of the commander on the other side. Cal also says that the Doctor doesn't need her trust, but the trust of the Rhodes Island Ops, then remembers how the Doctor didn't trust her either in the old days. Frostnova awakens and wants to return to the Yetis before violently coughing. Frostnova tells the crossbowmen to take Mephisto back and was surprised when she didn't kill him. Frostnova wants to see some people she met in the ruins and goes back to meet them. Another flashback. Yeti Squad and a Reunion Squad fight and ask Rhodes for assistance. They will do anything to save Frostnova. They win against the normal Reunion members and chat about ideology while making small talk. Amiya is able to find where the Doctor and Frostnova are, and with some help, digs them both out from the rubble. Frostnova gives a frostbite cure, Blaze promises to have a drink with Yeti number 1 in the future, and back to the present, Frostnova, Amiya, and the Doctor meet face to face again. Frostnova begins walking towards the Rhodes Island team with black ice crystals around her, caused by her freezing the moisture around her. Frostnova's emotions begin pouring into Amiya's consciousness, even without using her arts. Frostnova says that Lungmen exiled all the infected, resigning them to their fate. Suddenly, Frostnova freezes the underground chamber they all stand in. She has no reason to contain the winter within her anymore. Blaze calls her a walking catastrophe, telling her to knock it off or she'll get herself killed. Frostnova is ready to die. Everyone but Greythroat, the Doctor, Amiya, and Blaze retreat. Amiya informs Blaze that Frostnova doesn't feel the pain of the crystals piercing her skin because the pain inside is much worse. Amiya tells the Doctor to leave, but they refuse. Doctor offers Frostnova a place at Rhodes Island, but she brushes them off. The RI team charges her and are effortlessly repelled. The heat from Blaze is no match for her cold. Amiya goes to pull her rings off so that they don't lose, but is stopped by Frostnova freezing her rings to her hand. Greythroat and Blaze combine their arts and weapons to fire a barrage of bolts at Frostnova, who freezes them mid-flight. Frostnova monologues about how Tallulah is many steps ahead of Rhodes Island, having already planned their demise, mentioning that it may be assumed identity as well. Blaze and Frostnova enter into a duel that ends in a stalemate. Frostnova brings up Ace, who was killed by Tallulah, and questions Blaze about what she asked herself. Why wasn't she there? Why isn't she stronger? Why didn't she stop it? The temperature rapidly begins decreasing as she continues to monologue about Ursus and Tallulah, how she has been mistreated like her people and her fellow squad members. Frostnova never hated Tallulah, but she has nothing but an endless, seething rage for Terra. Greythroat mentions that if they hold out, they can win against Frostnova as there isn't much life left in her. Frostnova berates Amiya with questions about how she will lead the infected, how she can fight an unjust world. But Amiya can't hate her. She feels her true emotions. If we must fight, then we fight to the end. They must fight Frostnova. Only one side walks out of there. Frostnova is willing to join Rhodes Island and fight together against the enemies of the infected their way. Corruption must be eradicated. Defeat Frostnova, defeat Tallulah, defeat her, and show her hope. The sound of cracked ice is heard. Something Patriot got for Frostnova shattered after one fight. Amiya and the Doctor rush over to Yelena, who congratulates them on their win, saying her life wasn't worth anything at all. She encourages them to do something worthwhile and not watch her die. Amiya tells the Doctor to tell Yelena something. She has no complaints about the ending she deserves. She hurt the Doctor, Reunion, targeted innocent Lungmanites, and single-handedly led the Ursus infected into a nightmare. Her squad tried to keep her alive, sacrificing their lives for a woman with not much time left. With the little bit that she does have, Yelena thanks the Doctor. If she's right, Tallulah's plot is ready to unfold. Even if Patriot can stall, Tallulah will deal with him. Yelena asks the Doctor to stop Tallulah's plot from killing more infected. The Doctor tells Yelena that her father really loves her. Just like remembering her birth parents dying for her, she clearly remembers what her father did for her. It is because he has suffered so much that he cherishes Yelena. Frost Nova touches the Doctor's face, feeling warm. Her body temperature isn't as low anymore. The Doctor again offers Yelena a place in Rhodes Island, having a chance to right her wrongs. She joins. Maybe ideals can be a kind of faith. In her final breath, she asks her father to forgive her for being such a fool. Operation Defend Lungmen is complete. Chen and Swire talk. Chen was able to stop Reunion, the Special Forces, and expose them to the LGD, Rhodes Island, and even the Censor. Chen heads towards the sewers as she was told not to go there before. The Doctor passes by, carrying Yelena with them, being asked by an LGD officer if they caught Mephisto or not. The Doctor continues on. Blaze and Greythroat discuss the previous battle. They didn't want Yelena to die, but it had to happen. Amaya has already gone off to see Wei. The two watch the Doctor head to Rhodes Island for Yelena's burial, or more so cremation, to prevent the spread of infection. It's the Doctor's eyes that makes Blaze want to trust them. She finally realizes why Ace said the Doctor is more valuable than Amaya and Cal. Amaya meets up with Wei after a brief encounter with some of the censors. She wants to cancel the contract with Lungmen. She's not a fan of the bait-and-switch tactics, is there simply for the post-hoc formalities, and is determined that Lungmen is not a good fit for Rhodes Island. Wei asks if Lungmen owed something to the infected side of Rhodes. Rhodes has never had an infected side, or is just fighting for the infected, but for the global community. Lungmen doesn't need their help. Rhodes has done their due diligence. Rhodes Island is more interested in how their partners conduct their business than the bounties they are given. If it was only Rhodes being played, the contract wouldn't be terminated, as she can understand the mutual distrust. Lungmen is hiding the truth from the LGD, Lungmanites, and those in the slums. Wei believes that playing a role is more important than whether or not someone recognizes it. Amaya believes that the living aren't pawns, they're real people. Chen suddenly barges in, spewing many accusations. Wei asks what she's talking about. Chen asks if Wei Yanwu killed Tallulah's father. Did he force their mother to marry, quote, that cowardly man? Wei calls for the guards. It was Tallulah that told Chen. Chen says that Wei is angry. He knew this would threaten his rule. The Duke of Gacha has been in his nightmares from the beginning, and Wei has never felt sorry for Tallulah. Chen doesn't trust that old Duke, as he almost destroyed all of Lungmen and kidnapped Tallulah. It was a moonless night, and the Duke grabs Tallulah and stands on the other side of a broken bridge. Behind Wei is a crowd of black raincoats. Wei says that Chen knows nothing about what he has done for Lungmen. Cal appears with the permission of Fumizuki and tells that Reunion's top commander is still in Chernobog, and the core of the city is approaching Lungmen. In 36 hours, the core will collide with Lungmen. Wei says that he has ways to defend against nomadic cities. Wei asks if it has started spanning codes non-stop, which it has. All of Lungmen's sub-cities have already been hit by the codes, which claim this city belongs to Ursus. 2 Reunion leaders dead, 1 psychologically scarred, 1 possessed, 1 disappeared, 1 lost a daughter. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter for updates, and check out my other Arknights and Azure Lane videos as well.